The banking sector, the president has ordered a release of 1.5 billion Ghana cedi bailout to the banking sector cleanup victims. Now, is it good enough? A little too late. Where do we position this? Let me start with you.
The government's approach, better yet, policy to clean up the banking sector is a complete disaster.
I don't understand.
If you tell me that it achieved even a single objective, we'll be lying to the good people of Ghana.
Really?
How can you tell me that you spent a whopping 21 billion of the taxpayers' money to clean up a sector, and to date, if we are to open the phone lines and the banks will be honest with you, they will tell you the sort of ordeal they are going through now. What is the minimum capital requirement each of the banks are supposed to have per the Banking Act? Under the BOG's, of course, supervision, right? As of 2018, the minimum capital was 400 million.
Yes.
And guess what? For savings and loans companies, they were just to have 30 million cedis as the minimum capital requirement.
Okay. Okay.
Now you revoke the licenses of 5 banks, and then 23 savings and loan companies.
Yeah.
Sometimes I am compelled to hold back because I was part of the process.
What do you mean part of the process?
I was involved with the what do you call it, the liquidation processes of some of them.
Okay.
Especially with GN.
Okay.
And so that is where my issue lies. Now, when these licenses were revoked, you decided to establish what is called the Consolidated Bank. I have no issue with that. But take the issue of UT Bank, an indigenous bank, all right? The issue of Unibank, the issue of GN,
yes,
the issue of even Royal. These banks were doing so well. The issues they had were just a few, non-performing loans that they were struggling with. And so perhaps that is where you, the supervisor, you come in. That, you have given so much as loans to people, some even without securities. So what can be done in order that you safeguard not just the deposits of customers, but also even the employees? After the banking sector cleanup, look at the unemployment rate we have. Almost about 15% of the active labor force looking for work are home, are idle.
But didn't they say that the CBG absorbed a lot of them?
How many can they absorb? It's a single bank. We have 5 that were collapsed. Do you think they can absorb all of these people? They should just come out and tell us the truth. It's not true. GN Bank should not have had their licenses revoked.
Why not?
That is the honest truth.
Why not? The issues they
the bank was solvent.
Even the petition that
how about Heritage Bank?
Indu
made.
That's another thing.
The petition
the
that
bank
made yesterday.
The bank was solvent.
The bank was saying that all the issues at the time still pertain, and so they are not revoked. They are not restoring their license.
The truth in there is this simple. BOG said, look, if we are to take into consideration your capital adequacy ratio, you had a lot of liabilities vis-a-vis your assets. Therefore, it was a breach of the Banking Act. You cannot continue to operate. GN Bank did not request for a bailout from the Bank of Ghana.
Okay.
Unlike other banks that had received bailouts. And so if ideally you wanted that bank to operate, mind you, it had the largest branches in Ghana, even as a savings and loan. You said
I've seen them in faraway places.
I tell you, places where even GCB wasn't operating, GN Bank was. In excess of over 300 branches. I am not speaking for GN Bank, but I'm just saying the honest truth that GN's bank licenses should not have been revoked.
Okay.
Look, it's just because the allegation is that in 2008, after the elections, you remember there was a runoff. Yeah. That runoff, Indum was standing. And the conversation is that Indum was supposed to have joined the NPP in order that the NPP would have retained power in that year. However, Indum decided to join the NDC.
That's not true.
That is the assumption or the allegation out there.
That is not true.
So he supported
Hold on.
Atamels, and then Atamels won.
Okay.
And so when they came into power, they decided that, okay, you two, you see where power lies.
So they are basically showing him.
Exactly.
Okay. Please, we
All
don't
right.
have a lot of time.
So that is why you have GN's license revoked.
Even though all the indicators seem to show that
if it was about just a savings and loans, they had more than 30 million at the time. Listen, they had given out loans to contractors, and government at the time owed GN in excess of over 1 billion cedis. All right, and so if it was just about having the minimum capital requirement, they had, and even in excess. If government had paid the contractors, obviously they would have also had the liquidity issues resolved for them to operate.
So if what you're saying is true, then it means that the Bank of Ghana is being disingenuous by saying that we are closing you down because we're revoking your license because you don't have the minimum capital for required for operating.
To operate as a savings and loan.
Considering that government who function, BOG functions for government, and considering that government owes over 1 billion.
Kwegu, this is a confirmation from the Ministry of Finance then.
Okay.
And even this has also been confirmed by the BOG, that all the assets, or perhaps what the confirmation they've had from the Ministry of Finance, is about 30 million that is owed GN. And the bank is saying that even if they are supposed to operate as a savings and loan, your minimum capital requirement as a savings and loan is 30 million. So that gives them the right to operate as a savings and loan without you revoking their license. And so if you have had that confirmation from the Ministry of Finance that indeed it is true that government owes GN so much, then why do you go ahead to revoke their license?
Thank you. Larry, you were quite vehement about Paul's assertion that Indum.
There was allegation out there.
Moved over to.
Oh no, this is not for. I mean, this is not indirect. I was just reacting to the claim.
Okay.
Not as to.
Fair enough. What's your take on this?
No. First of all, listen.
The minister says that ideally government should not be held responsible for the investment decisions of individuals, but this government is so caring. Mistakes were made and people were not well informed. They did not know who to consult to be advised. But we know that people are suffering. People who are affected are suffering. And we have heard that some people have died and others have committed suicide. This government is so caring that in the first place, we granted some bailout to all those who are affected. And I want to tell you that the president has directed that we do another bailout. So they are really patting themselves on the back. The minister is patting himself and his government on the back.
Listen, I wanted to say something in respect to Dr. Ghc1.5. In 2008, when the election went for a runoff, he decided to be non-committal.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Pure and simple. People thought that his comments were in favor of President, then candidate Akufo-Addo, as opposed to, President Mills. You get it. So it is never true that he's Indum. Charlie, it's a different story altogether. Let's move on.
But the allegation
there. No, it's not. I'm sure people are just using that to justify whatever they had done.
He was rather in favor of Atamels then.
It's never true. So he has never been in favor.
He has never been in favor.
Bro, let's ignore that. Listen, I mean, let's go straight to this particular thing. First of all, this whole thing has been politicized. It's been politicized to a point where you don't even know the truth of this. The figure that Paul mentioned was what Ken Ofori-Atta turned out in 2001.
Okay.
July, when he went to Parliament.
2021.
Yes,
okay.
2021, when he went to Parliament to speak to this same cleanup thing. In sometime in 2023, Addison spoke. Addison is the governor of Bank of Ghana, and he spoke he spoke in November 7th, 2003.
Yeah.
Is that it? 2023.
Yeah.
Where he mentioned 25 billion Ghana cedi as blown on this particular thing.
Yeah.
So, finance minister 2 years earlier had mentioned 21 billion. Then 2 years after that,
governor.
Yeah, the governor is mentioning 25. How much more? That's like 4 billion more. Today, the president is being painted as a benevolent guy who had authorized state money. That listen, go and pay those people 1.5 billion.
Yeah. They are suffering.
They are suffering too much. Some have even committed suicide. Others have died. Suicide and death, I'm sure they are the same thing, isn't it?
The same thing.
Yes. Others have died. Others are living with, permanent.
But you can commit suicide and still be alive.
Be alive. Okay.
No.
Others commit suicide.
Committal of suicide results in death.
Well,
but you can die without suicide.
No, there have been cases where
the man is being sarcastic.
Okay, you please continue.
So you see, then now in all that, so how much really has been spent on this? Where is this thing going to end? Okay, and when I was coming, I was listening to one of your City FM that the Security Exchanges Commission has asked people who are owed to submit, a request form. Claim for their claims to be verified and then paid. How long ago since you started this thing?
Oh, this is about
2019.
Yeah,
2019.
2019.
I guess 2019.
And as of 2019, the president promised that everybody was going to be paid. Since then, you haven't paid them. Since then, you haven't verified whatever.
Oh, but I know some people have received monies.
No, I'm saying, so how, but then there are still people who are to be paid.
Still being owed, yeah.
And yet, how much money has been blown in there? That is what I'm saying.
25.
And the people who have been paid, when you go deep, they are mostly relatives and then, politicians and so on who have been paid. He is there. He was in there. Listen, there are instances where collaterals that were submitted for some of these loans were returned to their owners. The collaterals that were submitted for the loans taken from these banks were given back to their owners. Find out.
I don't understand.
You don't understand. I came to you for some money, okay? And then I submitted, let's say, my house or certain properties of mine, okay? Then along the line, there's been receivership, okay?
Yeah.
Sure. But because your bank, you've been completely blown out of the space.
Yeah.
And then it's Paul who is in charge of the receivership. All I need to do is to look for Paul and say, Paul, we went to the same school. Well, if for nothing at all.
Don't you remember?
Yeah, you went to, what's the name of your school again?
Pesco.
You went to Pesco, I went to Bieko. These are all Catholic schools. So please, can you have mercy on me? I'm coming in the name of Madam Mary. And then you found a way of giving me my property. That has happened in this space.
Wow.
That's why mostly, if you notice, most of the politicians are not even talking about this anymore. It only becomes how do you call it, anecdote in whatever it is that they are talking.
Addendum.
Addendum, okay. And or footnote, isn't it?
Yes, footnote.
Okay, it's become a footnote in whatever things they are saying. I mean, why are we here? Monies have been blown on this, and no investigation whatsoever. Anytime you want to touch the thing, no, don't go there. Now the president is being painted as a nice guy, who has walked in and said that, who on him? Listen, whether that is true or not, no. But with the Security and Exchanges Commission coming in, you will be sure that tomorrow they will tell you that when the president said that people should be paid, and then we, the Security and Exchanges guys, walked in and said people should bring their claims.
Yeah.
Nobody submitted its claim. Nobody submitted, so we haven't paid. Or it's only a few people who submitted, and a few people, you know, we have paid them. How much was paid? How much hasn't been paid? You and I wouldn't know.
It's all shrouded in mystery. All right, just quickly touch the last topic. Yeah.
I thought I could have a little.
If you have a little bite, we are done.
But you see,
we can't do the last. No, I'm serious.
We're coming down.
No,
See, this is your benevolence and your dictatorship.
No, this is
you need to.
You haven't discovered the guys. But I didn't finish. But I didn't finish. There's the investments that were done by these people. They were not done because the people just got up to do anything. You know, they didn't know what they were doing. Okay, you Bank of Ghana. I mean, you license this. You know, investment institutions.
So what's Bank of Ghana's culpability in all of this?
Exactly.
And there was supposed to be somebody there was a desk, the supervisory desk at the Bank of
This
Ghana.
is not like Men's Gold that didn't have license. For which reason you closed it down, you said. But that's when the people had it. They had it.
Supervising these banks to make sure they conform to the rules and regulations. And so at any point where any of these banks were going astray, that supervision department should have been held responsible for the chaos we are seeing. But nobody has been held culpable for any of the acts that has been done to our sector, all right, to the banking sector. Mind you, after spending the 25 billion, let's ask how much of it has been recovered or recouped from the cleanup. The last time I checked, it was just 1 billion Ghana cedis. One.
Do you know how much?
1 billion.
Do you know how
for
much
spending
money,
25?
Do you know how much money people were being paid? The receivers were being paid. They were determining how much they should be paid, and it was outrageous. So the bulk of the money went into payment of salaries, allowances, and so
for
on.
receivership.
But
I can't say much.
You don't know what they are.
I was in there again. So.
You can't talk about it because they will say, "Oh, I'm sure." Why you signed some confidentiality clause?
Yes, you signed that one. So
how would you sign that?
I can't.
It should be an empty space. We should all know what is happening.
That part, all right.
Hello, Kweku.
But the truth of the matter is that
Please, I didn't receive any of the money.
We spent so much for absolutely nothing.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, that cleanup exercise was just complete disaster. There was no value for money in there. It was just to enrich some people at the expense of the nation. Because you can't tell me that you spend 25 billion for what? Just one.
And people are still being owed.
And we have people at home who are unemployed. People are still calling me, requesting for their claims and deposits.
Long after I left.
I left 2021, by the way. And they are still working as we speak.
No, he says he's going to give us 5 minutes more.
Thank you very much.